don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're just freaked out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alright. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, whenever we last left off with this series, we had Deku and Aki. Now, quite a bit of things were going on. These two, they've been training for the last few months for the Xenomorph Queen hunt, and they finally have their third hunter. With all that going on, you did actually have Aki. Deku called her a friend and a comrade, and he did tell her that he didn't really see her as lesser or more than him. He does respect her, and he doesn't show any sort of negativity towards her. Aki was very confused by this, and whenever she didn't actually ask at least a human about their idea about Scar or Deku, the human was able to quickly piece together something. The way she talks about Deku, the way she sees him from what she describes him like, it's a crush. Whenever Aki figured this out, it did seem kind of awkward to her. However, she was trying to just pretend like she didn't think that way. Pretend like that was in the back of her mind, since there's no way she can have feelings for this human. Now, with that being said, it has been 1 month since then. And this amount of time, the training has continued. And we actually do have where Aki, she is sitting down in a room with Deku and her sister. As the three of them, they're talking about the planet they'll most likely be landing on. And they're going over many things about it. As Deku and Aki, they're both going on back and forth about one certain idea. Where they should land on the planet. Where they should have the Xenomorph touch down as well. Since if they're able to just drop a queen on the planet, then perhaps they'd be able to tell exactly where or what they could use to their own advantage. Most likely the Xenomorph would go underground, since that would be the most likely thing. Then it will try to just get some of the native creatures and attack them. So, there is that. Now, it's kind of interesting. Deku, he knows that they're going to send out a specialized egg for this hunt, but at the same time, he doesn't understand it. They're sending down a queen, but from what he heard, they're just sending down a small container. He doesn't really know why. Do they have some sort of phrasing tech or shrinking technology, or are they sending like an infant queen down there? That being what is running through Deku's mind. He's so curious about this now. They can contain xenomorphs, so that's something. It's just showing exactly how impressive the yautja tech truly is. And Deku, he actually does point to an area, talking about how this place might be the best one. Aki trying to at least argue that they should be further inland, that way they don't attract or have to go through the sea. You do actually have Aki's sister, who she does go to do one thing. She goes to tap on the map and point to the far side of the planet, where the two of them, they have to actually walk around the table and see what she's pointing at. As she does just point at a tiny island, her having to zoom in and then go to at least scroll through the area more, expressing that if they have this hunt in an island, then more than likely they can at least contain the xenomorph. And whenever they do kill the queen, there could be a possibility that they don't have to deal with another xenomorph problem later if they do come back to this planet. And that is something that both Deku and Aki, they do look at each other about. Well, this is in theory a good idea, there's another problem. Xenomorphs, if they're confined to a small area, with too many of them there, you could be overwhelmed. But on a landmass where they could be spread out in literally in any direction for miles, that's another story. And Deku and Akide do both look at her, as Deku does say that Vasia, she is really not thinking too much about this, is she? To which she is going to bring her hand up, expressing that this would be the better option if they confine the xenomorph to a small island, if they capture the queen and destroy her hive there. Then it would be simple, and they wouldn't have to spend days out hunting. And this is something that Deku, yeah, he does at least try to compromise, expressing to her that, well, they could go for one of the bigger land masses that you can actually see from space. There is the fact that, well, certain islands on this planet, yeah, if you have to go out into the sea, you kind of want to know what's out there first. However, on land, that's a bit easier to deal with, since most of those creatures you already expect to be poisonous, you already expect to be venomous, and you expect to be unpredictable. And the ocean, yeah. You get stuck down there, there's no telling what can happen to you. Now, with that, we do actually have where Vasi, she is going to stand up. Her going to walk out of the room and express that she will be leaving now, since clearly they have to continue to banter about this more. And whenever that actually has happened, you do have Deku, who he is looking around the planet and trying to think. While one of the bigger landmasses are one of his preferable options, out by the sea, that's different. Him thinking a bit more about it, as you do actually have Aki, who does point out another place. Her expressing that the area right here, it should be one with plenty of swamps, and it should be one with plenty of vegetation and water like what she does like. The older sister's a bit crazy. I know. Besides, she has always been like that. She's always looked down on me. Besides, we are only related through our father. Deku looking up and towards her, kinda confused. What? You're only related by your dad? Yes. So you have different mothers? Yes, actually. Her looking towards Deku. She does see that he does seem kind of confused by that, as she has expressed that the clan leader, ultimately many things can happen, and that with their father in charge of the clan, he had many wives. This kind of making Deku look a bit more surprised, as she has at least express. While her older sister is from a very well-known hunter, one who actually did help her father with the clan hunt, there actually is her mother. She is an elder as well. However, she did not participate in the hunt her father was in with the queen. She herself was actually a very strong yautja. And there actually was the day the two of them, they went up against each other in combat. There were many ideas as to who may be the strongest yautja. And while both of them, they did fail to prove themselves against each other, there was the fact that they did still seem to be incredibly well fought, incredible foes. So, they kind of made a bit of an agreement. Deku staring at her, as she does express to him that, while most yautja, they are either made thanks to strong wills or strong mates, she was made because of her strong potential. She was made because her father, he saw something that could be very well done. He saw a strong yautja, and he saw it as ideal for both of these two yautja to create a spawn, since both of them they would be legendary warriors, and the product of two legends should be an unstoppable force. Now, she was at least expressed to Deku. Well, they were expecting someone more like her older sister, they got her. And she's kind of been looked down upon because of her lessened potential, and because of the family she does have to live up to. And Deku, he does just stare at her, as he does at least talk about how parents will always have high expectations. I see. It is the same for your species as well. I mean, sometimes. Not the same way, but similar. Hell, I had a lot of stuff to live up to as well. My dad, he used to be military. He did a lot. He was involved in many things. My mom, she was kind of the same way. They were both incredible people. Crazy and dangerous. Somehow they ended up together and I was born. A spy and, well, a mercenary. It's the closest thing my dad was. A hired gun. Deku just looking down. As to talk about how he does understand why the yautja took him. However, he does not understand exactly why the yautja, they failed to stop what's happening. Well, we didn't expect it. What do you mean? Scar, I have looked into this data. I've looked into a bit more as to what I could find, especially with my clearance. And I do have a few things that would point and show me what could have happened to your people. Some of the information I found, it is remarkable. It's quite, well, if you didn't believe already in aliens, you might just have to start now. Her at least going to pull something up on her wrist gauntlet. Her then at least going to send it to Deku, as Deku he does get a file. Him pulling it up as he does start reading the words in yautja. As his mind is he's slowly starting to transfer to human language, he does start to at least see a few words. And one of these words they strike out to him, since it doesn't sound right. This goo that humanity was exposed to, or virus or fungus or whatever infection, whatever it was, it is said to have been found with these ancient aliens. People, even the yautja, they have trouble finding or discovering. People who, for all extensive purpose, are extinct. As Deku, he does read the word engineer. And this does sound insane. As Deku, he does look over the file a bit more. And he does see something that does alarm him. He's scrolling through the data he's looking at. Engineer. That's the name for this thing. But what exactly does it have to do? Deku pressing down and looking at a bit more data. Before a file pops open, and Deku is just going to look down at it. Before, Akita's noticed Deku's eyes go white and, well, wide, and his face goes pale. As Deku, he does take a bit of a step backwards for a second. This is insane. Yes, that data is, well, interesting. And I believe you should know about it. This is, I don't even know how are we so similar? Deku looking at the data. It's showing the genetic difference between an engineer and a human. And many of the similarities, they're haunting to Deku. From what he's seeing, with how close they are, with how widespread space should be, should not be above 90, but it's past 95. It doesn't make sense. Deku, he's reading this, and from what he can tell, the goo, it's connected to the engineers, and many things they've done. It's kind of horrifying to Deku, especially because he's learned that there's apparently been a trip to Earth before, some undetermined time in the past. It's just heavy for him to realize something. As Aki just stared at Deku, and Deku, he feels like he knows what may have happened now. There was a ship that approached Earth, and whatever it delivered, it killed humanity. And from what he understands, this ship, it must be connected to the engineers, since, from what the scans have shown, they were very similar, and it would match certain things the yautja have found before, certain artifacts the engineers have left behind. And right now, Deku, he is just thinking. From what he can tell, from what he can understand, the engineers, they've got something to do with humanity. They've got something to do with people. And they've got something to do with this. Deku, he finds it to be hard to believe. And then there is actually Aki. She did realize how Deku reacted. And she may have thought that this information could have been too much. She knows that this information, it is some that has been restricted since its clearance level. However, certain yautja, they're tested, and certain yautja, if they don't really get past the mental test, they can't have access to certain information like this, since either their mental states are too low, too sensitive, or they're not tough enough to handle it. Now, with that being said, we do actually have Deku, who he is just trying to think about all this information. Now, Aki, she can tell by the way Deku's face looks. She has seen that man with a stone face stare her down in combat. Even whenever things got bad, even whenever things got just desperate, Izuku always was able to hold this sort of composure. Scar was able to hold this just face about him. However, right now, she can tell. This is world shattering. As Deku, he does just continue to click through the data, and even just look through a few more things. As after Deku, he does look through it, he does talk about how he's gotta go on a hunt. Scar. Deku turning around, as she does look at him. And Deku, he does find it to be kind of strange. While certain yautja, they do maintain that face about them, there's a key. She's actually showing emotion. It kind of alarming Deku for a second. He's never seen a yautja face move that way. They always just seem so, well, shallow in movements. Never that just prompt or deep in the face. Now, Deku, he can tell, as he does ask her, what? Would you like me to join you? I can express and exchange certain information. I've looked into it more. There's some things that aren't on that file. Deku's staring at a key, as he does at least go to turn his body around and go to throw it in his hand, talking about how if he's going to have a hunting buddy, then they're getting plastered, and they're hunting, and there will be no excuses. Her going to reach out for his hand and go to grab onto his, as she just jump up and get up in front of Scar's face. Her expressing that if they're drinking yautja alcohol, then she will outdrink him. And if he does not keep up then, he will be a worthless hunter. Now, Deku, he actually somewhat jumped back, since that was a bit too close, and he kind of thought that she was about to headbutt him. Now, Aki does actually go to let go of Deku's hand and go to walk away. Deku actually watching her leave and walking up behind her, as he does think that this is going to be a pretty fun night. Now, with that being said, the two they do go out. And after some drinking, hunting, fighting, you do actually have later where they're both around a fire. And their prey is cooking. Deku and her, they're both pretty plastered. And well, the two of them, they are covered in wounds, blood, and, well, ashes. From the fire, they don't really seem to care. Deku, he's just at least going over a few things. Him shouting over her and the roaring flames that no, that was his kill, since he clearly got the blow on the throat. Aki responding, bullshit. She came down from above and hit it directly in the back of the neck with her blade. So, she was able to give the creature a painless and glorious death. Clearly, she was the one who got the kill. And Deku, he does at least go to say, it doesn't matter. Even if she did kill it instantly, Deku was the one who already attacked first. In a few more seconds, the creature would have faded, and it would have been his. However, Deku at least going to throw his drink out a bit more, as he does basically just rush the bottle out, saying that she was the one who stole his kill. And she does get a bit more angry. As you do have where Deku, he does stand up and go to at least stab a blade into the fire. Him pulling out a chunk of meat as he does go to gnaw onto it. Now, Aki does look at Deku, as she basically does do the same thing, and Deku, he actually just stared at her for a minute. As Aki, she does go to eat, and Deku, he does ask a few questions. Basically the questions you would expect a drunk person who's sitting at a campfire with an alien to ask. How do those things on her face work? Now, she would at least go on to give an explanation, as we do have the next morning, where Deku, he is woken up bright and early by the sunlight. And Deku, he's just laying down. Whenever the sun started to get in his face, he did go to bring his hand up, and then go to at least look around where he was laying. Since he thinks, oh, someone just turned on the light. He's gonna get his mask, and he should be fine. However, Deku, he didn't feel, well, the dresser next to him. He felt dirt. Him going to somewhat just lean up and turn around, trying to look and see what's going on. Since he remembers hunting, he remembers the campfire, and he thought he went back to his room. However, Deku, whenever he does look up and look around, yeah, there's still the campfire. It's burnt out in a pile of ash. And whenever he does look around, he does see a few bottles, and even some of the cups they do have here. As you do actually have where he does look down next to him, where Aki, she actually was holding onto one of Deku's arms. And Deku, he did find that to be kind of strange for a minute. As whenever Deku did go to bring his hand up and go to tap on Aki's shoulder, she immediately went to go throw her hand up and up towards Deku. As the moment she did stop and pause, her fingernails were already up to Deku's throat. And Deku, he did at least go to grab her by her wrist the moment she stopped. Now, Deku, he does at least pause, as he does ask her to let go of his arm. You let go of my wrist. Wait, arm. her looking down before jumping back and away from Deku. Now, with that, she'll scramble onto her feet, and at least Goto will walk away silently. Since, while a few humans may be awake at this time, they are far enough away. They just opened up a side of the fence, walked in, threw down dry logs, and lit them on fire. Since, hey, no point carrying it all the way back if they're drunk, stumbling, and already have enough things around them to cook this thing. Now, we actually do have Deku though. He does find this to be kind of strange. Since, from looking at his arm, yeah, he's fine. Her nails didn't dig into his skin whenever he was asleep. So that's good. Deku, he does think though for a minute. She did kind of look kind of peaceful when she slept. He wouldn't say the word cute. It's weird though. Why is that popping into his head? Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.